So sorry, so the question is how
what bring about the change? What will the culture,
what brings about change?
Will be that the help from the West, which I don't think will ever come, because West is only interested in oil and gas.
So what will bring about change in the other countries in that? Okay, so I've traveled to basically all the Middle East, with the exception of maybe Bahrain and a couple of countries. So from Oman to Dubai to Saudi Arabia to every culture is different, you know, the trying to group them as a kind of monolithic entity, that this is what this country, or Arabs or Muslims or whatever, that this is what they do or this is what they will do, is very, you know, short-sighted and very redundant. It's very diverse. Every culture is diverse. And the Arab world is very different. You know, if you go to Kuwait, very different from Oman. If you go to, you know, whether it's in religious practices, cultural practices, money, oil, gas, you know, Dubai is fascinating, you know, like the first time I went to Dubai, maybe when I was young, I was maybe 13 or 14, and I was just there last year, to see the changes that have happened in that country is just, you know, staggering. It's just incredible how, you know, 20 years ago, this was basically like desert country, and now it's like skyscrapers, and it's very kind of, I don't know, aesthetically distressing, you know, or I don't know. So anyway, change comes about, again, you can't really generalize, but for countries, you know, Saudi Arabia, and right now, for example, all the women are protesting, you know, we want to drive. Saudi Arabia, where do I start about Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has a lot of money, they have kings, they have power, and they want to keep it that way, all right? And they have a society that is very, very partly brainwashed. I actually think Saudi Arabia is one of the least Muslim countries, which is so bad of me to say, like, it hurts me to say that, you know, that in the way they use religion and how religion is understood and you know, prosecutions, and the understanding of it is very, very narrow and very, you know, it's not even orthodox, but we don't want to get into that. So they're in power, they have lots of money. This is the thing, they have lots of money, and money gives you incredible power. Whether it's, you know, they were just offering Egypt aid, like recently. It will only happen, change in countries where there's a real desire to change. So I wouldn't say, for example, Kuwait, because they're all rich. You know, like, it's very, I'm generalizing very much here. You can't, like, this can't be like actually any kind of empirical statement. It depends on what your lives are like. The majority is the population, the demographics, you know, the psychographics, even the consumer lifestyle of the people who live. You know, I studied business as an undergrad, and I did an MBA, you know. Even the simple things when you think of how to market a product, you know, you have to consider the whole individual and the society and the context and the background. So much goes into how someone is influenced by an idea or actually decides to adopt a behavior or a style or a product or a shaving or a perfume or anything. So in this region, it will be different for every country. I don't think, you know, the reasons Tunisia revolted were the reasons Egypt revolted. Tunisia, for example, is very educated. You know, when you think of the population that is unemployed, a very high percentage of them are actually educated. They have very, you know, whether it's not illiteracy, they have, you know, graduate programs, they have. So when you're educated and unemployed is different than when you're unemployed and illiterate and you're unemployed. You know, there's a different kind of frustration there. If I've never worked, can't you read and write and I don't have a job, my frustration is might be less than someone, you know, who's paid money and gone to university and been educated and still can't find a job. Then the frustration at the government is different, the reasons are different. So I don't think in other countries that are not revolting right now, again, it comes down to the political system, it comes down to social class, it comes down to how the country, who's in charge of the country, what leads. Is it a religious kind of, if you call it religious kind of understanding, if it's, you know, culture, if it's traditions, even male to female. I would even put the role of women in there, how like educated women are, because that's also something, you know, that's a very interesting discussion, the role of females in, you know, kind of in the revolution and how they participated, you know, the amount of children you have. It's very, very, very big. And I think this is something, you know, that now books and books and books will be written about, and analysis and strategies and recommendations and policies. And we will see this in the next like 3 or 4 years. You will see so much of it. But again, I think what the example of what's been happening has shown is that sometimes you can't predict. You know, sometimes, you know, in a day and night, things change like this. And no matter how much you've, you know, put your theories and dissertations, and we've written and talked about it and talked until the cows came home, but then something can happen which changes everything in an instant. So.
Thank you.